Good morning, everyone. This is Nikachu, Merfolk Master. We are here with Coffee and MTG, day 152, the morning talk show where we discuss all things Magic the Gathering. But today we have, of course, a very special guest today on Nikachu MTG because we also, on this show, we like to dive deep into the minds of the masters, the people who take an archetype and take it to a complete new level or even invent archetypes from scratch. I would love to welcome today our special guest, CrusherBotBG, who is the inventor of Hammer Time. Hammer Time being, I don't know, you might not have even heard about this deck yet because it is so fresh, so new, a completely revolutionary archetype. I didn't even hear about it until it finally won the Modern Challenge. And since then, it's been getting a steady stream of 5-0s and deep finishes and other challenges. But we're going to today talk about the deck from the person who crafted this deck from scratch, just like the Stoneforge mystic you are, to be crafting this archetype. And turns out CrusherBot has been winning with this deck for like basically the entire year. I mean, he's been killing it. We got a steady stream of not only 5-0s, but good placements in preliminary events and going deep in challenges. And just recently, this archetype has now gotten first place. Got first place in a modern challenge, and now it's sort of all over the map. And you're the person who brought it to life. So thank you very much for coming on to the show.
Thank you. Thank you so much for inviting me. Well, I've got my cup of tea here.
Green Excellent. Tea. Yeah, we all have to be ready with our cups of coffee and tea. Wherever you are in this world, it's always a good time to grab a cup and discuss some Magic today. All right, so for people who don't know you, and I think it's probably everybody, this is your debut into the Magic world. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and how you came to develop this archetype?
Well, I started playing Magic in 2002, actually, but I've played until this point only casually most of the time. Mm-hmm. And if for the people who've played in 2002, that was like almost 20 years ago. Unbelievable.
I was there.
Well, that was the
invasion block.
That was the year when the Mirroring block came out. Mm-hmm. I think, and of course, that was the introduction to the extended format, like the new board cards, the new board 8th edition, and I started to play then, and that was the time where Affinity ruled standard.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and I kind of fell in love with this style of play. Right.
So for some people they hated the standard, but for some other people maybe they loved the standard.
Well, I'm not sure I loved how oppressive it was. Of course, everybody was playing just that mostly. But there's certain thing, I don't know. CrusherBot actually is not related to Affinity in any way. I named myself like that in another video game.
It's all good. It's all good.
Yeah.
Okay, so how did you develop this deck? This is Hammer Time. Tell us, guide us through. Actually, what does this deck do?
Well, in short, you want to smack with a giant hammer, equipments.
Here's the Colossus hammer.
But this is not the only win condition. Like people make the mistake that this might be the only win condition, but I'm not the kind of person who likes to put all the eggs in one basket,
Right. Even though that actually, it really looks like that's what this deck does. So that's really good thing to know ahead of time, that if you're playing this deck, don't put your eggs all in one basket. There are other ways of winning. Tell us all about it.
The thing is, most of the times you're going to win very quickly. Like in game one, I try to be, as fast as possible with this deck. But cranial plating actually is like a secondary win condition that wins in a good percentage of the games, should I say.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. This card's been beating me down for years.
Yeah, giant ornithopter,
Mm-hmm.
Just and also
Exactly.
it was the first time when equipments were introduced, and now 10 years ago was like when Scars of Mirrodin first came out, and there was Moxopo, of course.
Mm-hmm.
They were one of my favorite cards. I know what you're going to say. Moxopo.
I have nothing else to say about Mox Opal. It's dead to me. It's gone. So I'm at peace with this card.
Yeah, actually, Moxopo is one reason I've made this deck, because I wanted to do something, ridiculous with Moxopo. Kind of ridiculous.
Everyone does. Everyone does. And it ends up happening.
It's one thing casting a Steel Overseer and an Arcbound Ravager, and third one. It's entirely different thing, in Urza that wins the game by itself, basically, almost. So with Pure Steel Paladin came out then, and I've just been loving the card. I don't know, it's such a cool card. I've always wanted to make something with that card. And
whenever an equipment enters the battlefield under your control, you may draw a card. Metalcraft equipment you control have equipped 0 as long as you control 3 or more artifacts. It's the core spirit dancer for this deck.
Yes. So he's been on my radar for a long time, And so with the unbanning of Stoneforge Mystic.
Ooh, that must have been a good one.
Yeah, and also I haven't played a lot of Modern before that. I mean, I have, but casually mostly in my local game store. But I have been following the big events online, streaming and stuff. There was Harden's Chaos Affinity with Moxopo, and I also fell in love with that version. I like things that are very similar in a way, but also have differences. It plays very differently, grindier, a little bit slower, with more complex, a lot more complex, if you ask me. Right. So my mind has been working on I want to make some similar affinity style version with Moxopo, and the idea, I thought it was genius at the time, Pure Steel Paladin, Stoneforge Mystic. And basically the Affinity Shell back then, it was Moxopo, Darksteel Citadel, Edge Champion. I used to run a couple of Edge Champions initially. Spells Kite. And I just made a MTGO account. I learned how to play. And I actually bought the deck because I thought it was really good without even testing it.
This looks so good on paper, I have to buy it.
Yeah, I bought it online. It was $300 maybe ticks.
This is hilarious. This is a story about someone who made a brew on paper, was so devoted to the thing, and stuck to it to the point where it actually starts winning by quite a large margin, and to the point now it's actually a real deck in the metagame right now.
It's unbelievable. The simple idea, making things happen in such an ecosystem. It's so many players picking it up. It's been very hard to watch, honestly. A lot of players are picking up the deck, but they don't really know what they're doing, and they have a hard time.
That's why we got you on the show today.
Well,
let's guide them into the right direction.
In that department very much, because maybe you have watched people play Merfolk for sure. And you're wondering what the hell is going on, why is it taking this person so long to do this and that, and what the hell are they doing? And I have to say that it takes really experience. Experience is the main thing that determines how good of a player you are. When I have had thousands of matches with this deck in the last 1 year, but you can see I'm starting to get featured in May. There's one big reason for that. If you click on the list, actually, you'll see that it's almost the same list as it is now, because I
It
don't
is
think
actually, yeah, it's very close. One
very,
less
very
Colossus
close.
Hammer.
One less and one more Shadow Spear. It is
Mhm.
very similar. I actually haven't thought that it does need some big changes in this time, because I have been winning. Like, if I say my win percentage, will probably sound like a lie to most people. So
So did Luris take it over? Let's go through card by card.
yeah.
Luris take this deck over the top?
Well, maybe, because like it drives the win rate like with 6-7 percentage points up, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
Because I used to run the standard Stone 4 package with swords and Batterskull.
Right.
And it's not bad, actually. It's not bad, but I did really have very bad matchups against the Jund, Death Shadow, and some 3-color control decks, no control decks, and all that stuff. And Inquisitioning your Sword of Feast and Famine kind of feels very bad. And Luros is an extra card, still very powerful, sitting there, waiting to be taken at every point. And if they don't have an answer to it, it's minimum 2 extra cards.
Yes.
Yeah, that's
What do you find you're taking back from the graveyard usually with Luris?
Mishra's Bubble. Like, from this deck you can pick up many things, because you know, like in some prowess builds, they have mainly instants and sorceries in their graveyards, like the Ragdoll Shadow. They often have nothing to recur with Luris. Well, here you can recur Memnites, Stopters, Stoneforge Mystic, or Colossus Hammer at instant speed, for example. A lot of people miss that. Like, they want to kill my Luris in the upkeep with Path, but with Flash...
yeah, at Flash you could do it because of
with
Cigar Day, correct?
Yeah. You actually can Flash, and they forget that you can play stuff from graveyard with instant speed. So
how important is this card to the deck? Like is this one of the best cards in this deck? Because it says you may cast auras and equipments spells as though they had Flash, and whenever an equipment enters the battlefield under your control, you may attach it to target creature you control. And of course, because it's free, this is how we cheat the Colossus Hammer onto a creature for free. How important is this card?
It is very important. It is very vital. Like, most of the cards in this deck are unique, like 0 mana creatures, like equipment enablers. There are like very few in the game, and Cigar's Aid is one of the best probably equipment enabler, plus Pure Steel Paladin. So without Cigar's Aid, it wouldn't exist, this deck, probably.
So it is actually like maybe the soul to the archetype.
Maybe you can change it for core outfitters or something, but it's good. I don't know. I mean, one thing I learned is to not overthink. For example, it is very important. It is very important. And Luris of the Dream Den, it is a powerhouse. Like, during the companion pre-nerf days, that's
must have been amazing.
Yeah, that's when I first started getting huge results. And the thing actually that pushed this deck, actually made it playable, is one card from Terrors Beyond Death. That is Shadow Spear. I mean,
interesting.
Yeah, because before that, you had a very hard time pushing damage through. You know, I used to play a lot of elves for example, in modern tournament practice or whatever, small creature decks, and they can chump block for days. You know,
it's important that Colossus Hammer forces the losing of flying. So even if you have an Ornithopter out there, it weighs it down. So this helps push through the damage.
Well, yeah, I mean, there are no other good options that give trample or lifelink. Like, I used to try a bunch of bad cards to try to do that before. Like, Loxodon Warhammer does the same, but it's 3 mana and 3 mana to equip, which is impossible. And like, there was some stuff that give trample, nothing. And this card was spoiled. I was like, yeah, this is the card I've been waiting for. I can't believe.
1 mana, equip 2.
One mana
Holy
equipment
Grail.
with problematic stuff. Lifelink is very vital because sometimes you're losing the race without lifelink. And it's like most of the cards from the last 2 years, it has an additional text, which some people forget.
Permanents your opponent's control lose hexproof and indestructible until end of turn.
Yeah, like boggles. They can stuff everything onto something and buy boggle with path to exile or spirits. They think they have selfless spirits. They block you with everything to kill your thing or something, and you activate Shadow Spear and everything dies. Like, it has a very narrow use, but that's just a bonus to the main thing. So this car actually made a big difference. Before that, I wasn't playing a lot of leagues. There was a lot of artifact hate. I don't know, with Urza running around in mocks. Collector Roof, Karn, the worst cards like against me. And Ancient Grudge and Kolaghan's Command, they're very, very horrible to play against. To this day.
We could actually say that the banning of Mox Opal might have actually helped this deck, because if people start putting the artifact head away.
Yeah, there was no viable artifact strategy for like months. And there are a lot of factors like right now. I mean, people were running like 3 Collector Roofs in their sideboards before.
Yep, exactly.
And it turns out
going down the list. Pure Steel Paladin. Whenever equipment enters the battlefield under your control, you may draw a card. Metalcraft 0. Equipment you control have equipped 0 as long as you control 3 or more artifacts. Tell us all about this card, how it interacts with the deck.
It is a very powerful like value engine. You have a couple of ways to play this thing. I personally like to get maximum value out of it as possible. You can play out your equipments first and then play the Pure Steel, for example. A lot of people miss that. You can play turn 1 your Colossus Hammer, Knight, and Ornithopter. Then turn 2, they may have removal up or something. You play Pure Steel, and they don't have priority yet. You may choose to equip like a Mem Knight. And for example, they'll have to make a choice whether to kill the Pure Steel now or kill the Mem Knight, which you want to equip, for example, or later in the game, like in similar cases. Sometimes you can play your equipments first. And,
so you're suggesting turn 1, Colossus Hammer, Mem Knight, Ornithopter, even when you have the Pure Steel in your hand.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a person who always looks up like my opponents. To see what I'm playing against. I mean, I look them up on Goldfish and see what they're on, and I decide what to keep, what hand to keep, and how to play. If I see I'm against a non-interactive deck, for example, I will choose the faster line. I mean,
Oh, you're on ad nauseum? All right, let's speed it up.
Yeah, I mean, they didn't do that before, but I think all the good players right now are like doing it.
They don't need to against me. They just know.
Well,
up against me. They know what they're up against.
Or something else, But I am trying to out of Pure Steel Paladin to get the maximum value out of it. I don't. If I have Sigarda's 8, for example, I will play Pure Steel, and I'll make sure I have mana up. So if they want to kill it, I can play an equipment at instant speed to draw a card or something. Get the value.
Like Colossus Hammer.
Yeah.
Okay, so sometimes we will play it patiently. Make sure you play Pure Steel Paladin when you have mana up. This is what you're telling me.
That's. It really depends on the
situation dependent, but this is a line available. It's that important. How important would you rate Pure Steel Paladin between like this and Stoneforge Mystic?
It's more important, the Stoneforge Mystic. This card can run away with the game by itself. If it's not answered, you can draw like 4 or 5 cards with it, like easily.
Pure Steel is more important.
Yeah, easily, because like a third of your deck is more than a third of your deck is equipments. I mean, or tutors. Stoneforge Mystic, Steel Shaper's Gift 4, 11, 15. Well,
We have 11 equipments here in this particular list.
11 equipments plus 8 tutors, relatively a
Yeah.
third of the deck is equipments. And if Pure Steel Paladin is not answered, and your stuff is so cheap, and the way our cards combine so obnoxiously, I mean, we are a combo deck after all. And the value of the cards is kind of segregated. There are few very valuable cards and few not so good or by themselves, but they're not standing by themselves. They combine in a very, very powerful way. Like,
It's synergy.
It's synergy. Like, this card with all the draws, I mean, if it is not answered, it usually wins the game because you have 0 mana creatures you play. You have Paradise Mantle. You can make 3 mana. Like, you can ramp yourself with. If you imagine this, you play Pure Steel. You have Mem Knight and a Topter in play. You play Paradise Mantle. You draw a card. You equip the Mem Knight for free. You play a Colossus Hammer or search for a Colossus Hammer.
Because we add mana with Paradise Mantle.
Yeah, you equip then the Paradise Mantle to the Ornithopter for free. You play the Colossus Hammer. You draw another card, and like you're ahead 2 cards, you have a little threat on board, and
just a little threat, just a little 10-10 eventually.
And you have ramped yourself for the next turn.
Right.
Like a lot of people that I've seen play the deck ignore the other equipments a lot. Like Sodek, for example, in your match when he played at the Modern Challenge, I watched that. He did not have cranial plating. He cut it because I don't know.
Sodek, that was the mistake. You have no idea how I've feared this card for years. For years, Sodek.
Sodek is a very, very good player, and he made good impressions because he's a person who will blame himself first for not doing or for not performing well, and then he'll blame the deck, for example. Many people fail to evaluate themselves as players, They just don't do that. They put it on the deck like they're playing perfectly, but that's far from the truth. You always have to look at yourself first, what you're doing. And Sodek, he changed the lists a lot, but like in a board stall, it does not need an enabler. That's one of the most important things about this card. Like against Junt, for example, this is one of the most important cards.
So in the late game, this is just a bomb.
With Inkmart Nexus, like the classic affinity beatdown, right? Inkmart Nexus and Cranial Plating, you have like 2 other artifacts in play, and it's already a 5/1.
It's a 2-turn clock.
Yes. But in a board stall where you don't have Shadow Spear, for example, like your opponent has a lot of creatures, you have a lot of creatures, they can block, they will not attack you, like it happened in that Merfolk game when you played. If he had if he had a cranial plating, he can push some damage through at least each turn. Like he searched for equipments, like searched for hammers, but he can't do anything with them.
Right. So this is a tutor for Stoneforge Mystic to help break those board stalls.
Yeah, it's a secondary win condition. Like for example,
that's funny. Stoneforge Mystic is the secondary win condition.
Or the cranial plating.
Oh, okay.
Cranial plating. Stoneforge Mystic is another one of those value cards that just card advantage, pure card advantage. And it plays around counter spells. It's a body. Like some of these cards have multiple functions. They're both artifacts and creatures. They're lands and creatures, like the Inkmart Nexus. It's like a 2-for-1 because it's a creature, it's a land, it's an artifact. It's just perfect for this deck. So like Mill 1 game, for example, they extracted my Colossus Hammer from the graveyard, from the deck. Then they extracted my Cranial Plating. And I still won the game with Lurus, Mem Knight, and Stoneforge Mystic with Shadow Spear, like 6 damage a turn. Like very nice, very nice surgical extractions there. It still has a plan C, whatever, you know. It's fascinating. Stoneforge Mystic. I saw one list in the recent 5.0 dumps that cut this card. Like I have tried cutting Stoneforge Mystic, but it is a mistake, I think. I mean, there are so many variations right now that people are running, like tons. And like in the last 5.0 dump, there are like three. Do you hear me? Like 3 different variations of this deck. One splashes red, one splashes black, green. Like, it's superb. I'm all in for innovations and diversity and experimentation. It's okay. But I can't hear you actually. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? I can't hear you though. Maybe I should turn.
Okay, I think you can hear me now.
Yeah.
I don't know. I know what happened, but I don't know why it closed. I had something. Okay, moving on. Technical difficulties fixed. So, so yeah, on the topic of Stoneforge Mystic,
Well,
I was saying, like,
even
even Death and Taxes want to cut this card, but in the end, you just can't do it. It's
No.
just too much. It just helps too much to the consistency of any archetype, and yeah,
if
that's
you cut
that.
Spider Space, for example, I watched him on one of your shows. Like he said that you can't cut Stoneforge Mystic. It's like pushing the deck over.
Mm-hmm.
It's just
2-path exiles.
Well, there are a lot of shadows raining around, you know.
There are a lot of shadows.
Like a lot of Heliots and Spike Feeders and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not sure. I'm not sure if it's the right call, but I've been liking them. Also, there's a thing that you can ramp yourself. Like you can pat Topter, like, or something.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't need against the matchups that pat is bad, for example, ad nauseum, you can ramp yourself, which is good. Still a good thing.
Mm-hmm.
Steel Shaper's Gift. Very important card.
Search your library for an equipment card. Reveal that card, put it into your hand, then shuffle your library. Little did Wizards of the Coast know that this 1-mana tutor could be a disaster somewhere in the future. They don't make 1-mana tutors. And it puts it directly in your hand. Directly into your hand.
Like if Hardened Scales has Ancient Stirrings, we have Steel Shaper's Gift.
That's worse. Super. This is like Ancient Stirrings. Look at the top 60 cards of your library. Put one of them into your hand.
Well, yeah, it gives good consistency.
Mm-hmm.
The deck also, if we play a living weapon, like the winning list in the Modern Challenge from the person, like played 1 Flare Husk, which is a living weapon, like you can fetch a creature. With it's a good idea.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Yeah, yes. I still no good living weapon in Modern, though, except the Battle Skull.
Yeah, but we can't run it with Luris because it's a 5-drop.
No.
That's
No.
okay.
So the 0 drops. Mishra's Bobo is quite important. Like in the early days, I did not run Mishra's Bobo with Mox Oppo.
Mm-hmm.
But the curve was a little bit higher back then. There was no Luris. I mean,
no Luris is a very big deal.
When they banned Mox Oppo, I actually was quite devastated. You know,
a lot of people were. I wasn't.
It was like destructive. I could not believe they would ban a card that's like a 10-year staple of the format. I mean, I know it was.
It went too far. You know, it was really cute for quite a few years. It went too far. Like, it was probably too far for 7 extra years. like 10 years staple. It should have been banned 7 years ago.
But
yeah, I blame Wizards for letting people think it was going to stick around for that long.
It's like treason to all the like fans printing some stupid overpowered cards like and banning the old things. I mean, it's not very good. I did not believe they would do that. So I mean that it was devastating, and I actually did not believe the deck would be good without Mox Opal. Like I sold the whole thing as fast as possible before the price had tanked. Like I bought it for 300 ticks. I sold it with 87 for 87 ticks. Like I thought it was over. I just let it stay there for some time. And then Lurrus got spoiled and got printed, and another broken card.
Replace one broken card with another broken card.
Yeah, let's restructure. Let's put a Mishra's Bubble that fits in perfectly.
Yeah,
and also makes the deck even more consistent because you dig through the deck, and you have 8 tutors. You can look at the top card of your library. You can steal Shaper's Gift on turn 1 if you want. It's a good consistency. It got spoiled, and I restructured the deck, and it was just crazy how good it was. I actually
back then you didn't even have to pay a companion tax on Lurrus.
Companion tax. Please, man,
just throw that Lurrus out there. Start gaining some cards with Mishra's Bubble.
You could do that as early as turn 2, like a Mem Knight with a Paradise Mantle and a Bubble, and turn 2, Lurrus of the Dream Den, and you start cycling bubbles. It's pretty absurd.
So hold on, before we get into the rest of the artifacts, just like to remind everyone that if you're watching on the replay, if you find this valuable, give a like. And I just want to take some moments to thank my sponsors, starting with we're going to start with the manabase.com, your home base for everything Magic the Gathering. And the Manabase is, of course, supported by Fusion Gaming Online, my favorite local game store, Canadian local game store. And their deal of the week is you can save up to 20% off old core set 2021 singles, but they have a new deal of the week every week. So always check in at fusiongamingonline.com to see what the latest deal of the week is. And also, I'm going to thank Mana Traders, the premier place to rent Magic cards online. And absolutely, you could definitely rent this deck. Is this even? It's not even that expensive, this deck.
No, it's not expensive.
135 ticks. That is relatively cheap. You could buy it. You can even get it. I mean, you could buy some Stoneforge Mystics and then rent for like at $100 level. The rest of the deck. It's very, very. You could probably just buy the whole thing if you don't want. But if you want to test drive it, if you don't know if this deck is for you, see if it's in your wheelhouse. Rent it with Mana Traders. You can support the channel by using my coupon code in the description below. Or sorry, using my Mana Traders link in the description below. Or you can save yourself 15% your first 3 months using my coupon code Nikachu. All right, so let's move on.
It's very cheap. For a long time, it was under $100. It was like an $80 deck for a long time. Like Mishra's Bubble price dropped a lot. It was quite expensive for a time. And I actually
Opal too.
Yes.
That was probably when it was expensive. Nowadays, the Mox Opal. Now it's a budget deck.
It is a budget deck. Like the mono white tokens, you like one of the premier, if you ask me, premier budget decks right now, obviously.
Right. Well, this can definitely be in that category right now. With Paradise Mantle is 3 Paradise Mantles is $15. Oh, this is for tabletop. Still, that is ridiculous.
Yeah.
I like to get the Magic the Gathering online prices here. But even Steel Shaper's gift online is actually relatively expensive. Mishra's Bubble, I understand. This is like probably basically the most expensive thing in the deck. Interesting. Oh, anyway, Paradise Mantle. I guess it's a Commander All-Star. Tell us about Paradise Mantle.
Paradise Mantle, like we have 19 lands. The average converted mana cost of our things like is 1, I think, around 1, which is quite crazy. Like everything is a 0 drop or a 1 drop. And Paradise Mantle functions as a land, kinda, as a mana source on your small creatures.
Mhm.
But it draws you cards with pure steel, and the ability to equip for free is quite good. Quite good. You can ramp yourself with like 2 or 3 mana.
Mhm.
It is
So of all
very
the 0
important.
mana equipment, this is just ends up being the best because you can ramp yourself with the 0 mana creatures.
Yeah, also with Sigarda's aid, you can play this at instant speed, and like they think you have just an Ornithopter, and you're tapped out, and they attack you with their spell queller or something, and you play
Mhm.
Paradise Mantle at instant speed and attach a hammer, and attach a
And
hammer.
it looks like you're completely tapped out, no mana. Surprise! Paradise Mantle, instant speed, make mana, Colossus Hammer, instant speed, block.
Yes, it's not very often, but it's a very, very nice trick, or a path to exile or something like extra mana. Or you can use Stoneforge Mystic's ability like at instant speed. They think you have 1 mana.
Oh yeah.
It is pretty good. Like I used to run Springleaf Drum before, I have tried, but Paradise Mantle is just
Oh, yeah.
much better synergy. It is very good. Maybe sometimes against most interactive decks, I'm cutting 1 post after game 1. I'm cutting a single Paradise Mantle against your Jaunt Shadow decks because they will kill your stuff on the battlefield.
Mhm.
Yes.
And the threats are more important anyway.
Yes, like you want to cut some things. Like I have developed at this point, I have a sideboard strategy against most archetypes.
Okay, so Colossus Hammer, basically the flashiest aspect of this deck. Certainly why it's been. Would you say Hammer Time is an appropriate name for this archetype?
It is. It is.
It's Hammer Time.
Hammer Time.
So unload what this card is all about.
This it's a giant fucking hammer.
Yeah.
It
For 1 mana.
It has beautiful details on it. It's a dwarf, I believe. It's wielding it.
And it's very flavorful. It's so heavy that whatever is wielding it loses flying.
Yeah, although with the Inkmart Nexus, like that's a bit of a secret. It loses flying, but you can animate it again. It will gain flying again.
Yeah, this happened to me versus Sodek, where he equipped the Inkmoth Nexus with a hammer and then activated the Inkmoth again. Yes, I think he activated it again.
Yes, he did. It almost feels like cheating, honestly. I'm not sure if this is by the rules at all, but it has worked.
It works. Far. That's how it is.
Yeah.
Okay, so how often are you specifically tutoring for this card, say with Stoneforge Mystic?
Very often. Like, this is the main win condition.
Okay, so you basically like 90% of the time, or 95, you look for the hammer?
Maybe like 80% of the time, because like all of the equipments are quite important, and you would like want to have like in every game you would want to have them mostly in a longer game. But it depends on the moment what you have. If you have an enabler, if you don't have an enabler, then you have to choose whether you have to choose your plan, whether to go for a plating for another kill, or it's mostly a hammer. Yeah, it just more copies of, like there are 12 copies of hammer if we like.
Right.
And this is the main win condition, of course. Like this enables all the turn 3 kills, like that. This deck kills a lot on turn 3 and 4, like a lot.
So actually, so this is mainly a turn 3 deck?
It is a turn 3 deck, very, very rarely a turn 2 deck. Like only
Tell us what a turn 2 kill looks like.
Land, Sigarda's 8, Mem Knight. Turn 2,
Okay,
you
land,
attack.
Sigarda's Aid, Mem Knight.
On turn 2, you attack and you stick 2 hammers to it.
Oh, that's what it is. +10/+10, plus the second 2 +10/+10. Okay, gotcha. So you need the yes, you need the Sigarda's Aid to cheat 2 hammers into an unblockable creature.
It may be possible with Pure Steel, maybe. I mean, I'm not sure I have done it. Like, turn 1 hammer, 2/0 drops, turn 2 Paladin. No, I mean, you have to have 3/0 drops, you have to play a Mantle, another hammer, and you will... yeah, that's absurd. It hasn't happened.
Okay. Gotcha. That's probably why it hasn't happened yet. Okay, so Shadow Spear, we talked about this. The trample and lifelink is very relevant. Cranial plating, very important because it can turn any random creature later on in the game into an enormous threat out of nowhere. Swift foot boots. What about this one? Hexproof and has haste.
Yes, the abilities are quite relevant here. I'm still not sure how viable this card is. I'm just testing it now, but it's actually, when I watched some of my replays against the more interactive decks, it actually won me a lot of games, because if you manage to make a Bogo, they may not have an answer to it a lot of times. Like Liliana of the Veil is probably one of the only cards that will stop you if you have a boots. If you manage to stick those on a Pure Steel or a Lurus, like, it's almost game over. It's almost a GG. But I'm still not sure. I'm not sure this card is very good. It was in I did not play it for a long time. It was in the sideboard. Now it's in the main board. It is good to search when you don't have a lot of things going on. Like, you can just, if your opponent is not threatening you, if they're passing, you can play this, and you force them to deplete their removal. Basically, like, you can threaten to equip a 0 drop, and they will most probably kill it. Then you threaten
the next 0 drop.
Yeah, they deplete their removal like that. I mean, it's pretty awesome, actually. But I don't know. I'm still testing this. But
this is like, maybe cuttable.
Maybe.
If you didn't play this card, what would you play?
That's an interesting one. I used to run Welding,
Paradise Mantle, third Path to Exile.
I used to run Welding Jars.
Okay.
In the main deck, because they are good against Fatal Push. Is one of the worst cards against us. There's a lot of boats in the format. Like, also you can save with Welding Jar. You can save your Nexus from a land destruction, Ghost Quarter or something.
Oh yeah.
Right. It's good synergy. It protects your stuff for free. Like, I still play a couple in the sideboard. Like in the challenge on Saturday, I basically used almost all my sideboards. I know some people would not agree with my sideboard options, but I'm a person who likes to have an answer to everything that might come up. Like, I don't want to have something that will just beat me, like Chalice of the Void. It is pretty rough. That's why I used to run 3 disenchants.
Someone actually asks here, Benjamin asks, what hurts more, Chalice on 0 or Chalice on 1?
Chalice on 1 hurts the most. Like, you can't play Sigarda's Aid or Hammer. Both, like, Chalice on 0 and 1 hurt. When they're on the play, it's a nightmare. If you're on the play, like, it's not a big deal, actually, because you play your Sigarda's Aid on turn 1. You play your 0 drops. But still, it is one of the worst cards. Even later in the game, it will become like something you can't play against much.
Yes, you can Stoneforge this stuff out. It does get around Chalice. Okay, so we have one Castle Ardenvale.
A castle. It has one, like, Buster, who won the Modern Challenge. We had a discussion with him, like, for a couple of days before that. He wanted to make some changes, I think. If it was him, if it was another guy, like, he wanted to change some things. But Castle Ardenvale won him one of the games. against like Rakdos mid range. It just it is a land.
One token for basically 5 mana.
Yeah, but it is every turn, and it was
Okay.
sometimes. I mean, the
The
cost.
hammer on the board, that's always a 10/10 creature.
Or any equipment.
Sorry,
Like
11/11.
you need somebody to stick your equipment to. Like the cost to having a Castle Ardenvale is not very big. We do have a little few planes, like only 10. If we want to have an untapped castle on turn 1 consistently, we probably would need like around 14. But it's still like too good. We have also 4 bubbles that help us, like they almost count as a land. I mean,
Yeah, mana source, yeah.
in your deck, like 0.25 on a mana source or something of that sort.
Well, let's move to Inkmart Nexus.
One of the most powerful, the most powerful man land in Magic, probably. I mean, no other man land can compare to this one.
Very relevant right now because the Helid Company deck can gain infinite life. Inkmart Nexus doesn't care about that. Not at all.
Not at all. Like I would gladly see a Spike Feeder on the other side. Walking Ballista, on the other hand, is a different story entirely.
Is Ad Nauseam like a good matchup because of Inkmart?
Yeah, because Angel's Grace in Phyrexian on life don't do anything.
Yep, that's right.
I mean, Ad Nauseam in general, we have a lot of good matchups. Like, we really do. Any tribal deck, any slower deck that doesn't do anything in the first few turns. Like, in Modern, you can lose to everything, of course. But Ad Nauseam, most of the times, you're just 1 turn faster than them, usually. Which is, yeah. It's a kind of a drag race. You gotta have, you gotta punish all these combo decks that are slower.
Right. So we have Silent Clearing, just a good card draw.
It initially, like I'm a very different player than I was 1 year ago. Like initially, I did not run these. I played like an Arkham's Astrolabe.
Oh, okay.
In the beginning, but I actually played against Affinity, and they had cranial plating, and we had absolutely the same board almost, but they had the mana to equip cranial plating for at instant speed, which was very relevant. I had only white sources.
Oh. Yeah, the double black on cranial plating. So in combination of Paradise Mantle and the black from Silent Clearing,
yeah,
we can now do this.
It is quite important sometimes because like they tapped out your stuff with Cryptic Command, then you set a stop in your begin combat step, and you animate the ink mod, and you can move the plating to it or something.
Yep.
Somehow, what escaped my mind? Something, yeah, Silent Clearing. Like Affinity ran in that particular match, the Affinity opponent beat me because they had a redraw and they could equip cranial plating for free at instant speed. And it was a lesson for me, and I looked up, like, I cut the Astrolabes and decided to play, like, they restructured the deck a little bit. Actually, Paradise Mantle came in a little bit later. Like, initially I wanted to play it, but I talked myself out of it and played Astrolabe instead. And after that, like after some time, I put in Silent Clearings and Mantles. Because the redraw is very important. I think from Modern Horizons, there were a lot of bad like cards for the format, but there was also a lot of good ones. And the canopy lands are a good inclusion. Like when your opponent is top decking and you see like a canopy land is a redraw when you need something, some gas. And like
I mean, you're happy that you have the canopy lands, like, so you don't flood out.
Very good addition. Very good addition. Like few other additions, like Unsettled Mariner, for example, is a card I like. They should do that more. They should support the tribal decks more or something.
10 planes. Any specific reason to have this many? You don't want to play any more utility lands?
For the castle mainly. And I'm not sure they're good. We want to have at least 18 white sources for the pure steel because it is double white.
Yeah.
And we have 15 in the form of lands and with the 3 mantles. Like that's our way of casting pure steel
Paladin. That's right.
Otherwise, we would not be able to cast it. So that's why. Also, we're good against Ponza with so many basics. We have not
10
seen
is
a lot.
Usually enough.
Yeah, we have not seen a lot of Ponza recently, but still, it will come up here and there. But it cannot compete right now with the other decks very well, with the most powerful decks, in my opinion.
Okay, let's go on to your sideboard. You said that maybe people would disagree with your sideboard. Let's talk about Tormod's Crypt.
A lot. Well, Tormod's Crypt, it's recursive with Luras.
Yeah, so good synergy with the Luras.
Yes, we don't want to play Relic because we don't want to exile our graveyard, our own graveyard. Tormod's Crypt for graveyards, it's good against Turo, Omnet piles, money piles. Like you exile their
money
graveyard.
Tribal.
Money tribal. You exile their graveyard. Like also it's good against Tupso spells.
That's right.
Yeah, they would usually board out their line of sanctity, and it is good against them. It's also good against Mew. If they want to surgical some of your things, you can exile your graveyard, or if they want to crypt incursion you, for example. Like it's a useful card. I like it. I used to run fewer, but like in the current meta game, I think it's good.
Yeah, you got to beat Uro. And like, what can I say? You gotta use Graveyard Hate. I don't think people use enough Graveyard Hate right now in this metagame. I'm glad to see the 3 Tormod's Crypt. All right, Welding Jar.
I am kind of hesitant about the Welding Jar.
Yeah, you kicked it out of the main deck for the Swiftfoot boots.
Yeah, like it was very good when you wanted to protect your very special artifacts like swords and Batter Skull. It did a very good work because you had a lot of artifact hate destruction. Right now, it's good against bolts, burn and stuff like a fatal push. Like the other day in the challenge at 3-1, I played against Amulet Titan. I had a cranial plating and some artifacts and the Welding Jar. I would have lost the game if it was like they play also Force of Vigor, which is another very good card. If you have or Engineered Explosives, you can save something with Welding Jar, and it's free. I care a lot about mana efficiency. I think it's very important in Modern, and the fact that this is 0 mana with a useful ability, and it also protects your other hate pieces in your sideboard, like Pithing Needles and Damping Spheres. Like against Tron, I board out, for example, the Mishra's Bubbles, and I put in like Damping Sphere, Pithing Needle, Welding Jars, and you can protect your Damping Sphere.
Oh yeah, okay.
It happens quite a lot. I mean, all of these are artifacts. Most of you can protect your 0 mana creatures. They're quite important, and again, I'm all in for mana efficiency. Like that's why I play 0 mana creatures. I mean, a lot of people are changing that, but I'm not sure I'm convinced if you should cut that. Like in Modern, for example, you have a lot of 3 mana Tarmogoyfs, right? But a single 2 mana one. And That's the difference between Splinter Twin and Kiki Jiki, for example.
Right.
1 mana. And there are countless examples. Like I've seen people run Ginger Brutes and stuff. But they're cool, of course, but I don't think any deck in history has utilized the 0 mana creatures as well as this one. I like this deck as streamlined as possible.
Yep.
That's why.
Golden Jar was also a staple in Affinity for, I think, the same reasons.
Yeah, and in Hard and Scales, they still play some welding jars.
Okay, moving on to Burrington Forge Tender.
Well, no, I tried some things before that. It was for prowess mainly, because at one point prowess was very popular, and Burrington.
I still think it's popular.
Yes, I mean it was the top deck at one point, though, and then Scourge of the Skyclaves got printed.
Yep.
Another absurd card. Another absurd card, and like the Rakdos Prowess deck changed a bit, but I used to run 3 Forge Tenders. It is recursive with Lurus.
Mm-hmm.
It is good against Burn, it is good against Anger of the Gods, it is good against Ponza.
Mm-hmm.
You can take it back every turn. I've been pretty satisfied. I tried some other stuff from its place, like Oriok Champion, but again, we mainly need a body and a cheap one, and this one also has a very relevant ability.
Right.
You can protect your stuff. Path to Exile, one of the best removals in the format.
What are you usually bringing it in against?
Creature combo decks. Shadow Prowess, Scourge of the Skyclaves. I against Junt, for example, I will not bring a third path most of the times. Like I would like to do my own strategy, like my own thing still, not focus so much on them, what they're doing. I'm wobbling between 2 and 3 maybe.
Okay.
It is a flex, but still a very good card. Like if you look at the top of the metagame right now, mainly against Heliod Company, Rakdos Shadow. I think that's it.
Yep. Pithing Needle. This is a card I'm very excited about right now.
Yes, I was actually watching your stream one day before the Modern Challenge. You went top 8.
Yeah.
And you were
I have
like
4 of these in my sideboard. I have 4 of these. I wasn't wishy-washy about this card.
Like I was I wrote in the chat like maybe stick to the good old Pithing Needle, and you said, but it won't change much. Well, I think it's it hits a lot of things. It really hits a lot. Karn, the Great Creator, Blast Zone, Engineered Explosives, like your random Walking Ballista, Raging Ravine. Raging Ravine. I had it on my mind. I've lost like a few times to that. I mean, Scavenge. It just hits a lot of random things, like Planeswalkers. I mean, I wouldn't really bring it against control decks, honestly.
Yeah, me neither. So when this card was mostly proposed to me for the Heliod combo deck, which I could bring it in. I don't know if it'd be that effective, but then I realized, just as you put it, it's just good against all the random extra stuff in the modern metagame. It just ends up hitting like just a tons of stuff out of all the tier 2 decks, some of the tier 1 decks. It just nails like a bunch of stuff and is a really good card to bring in when I have definitely dead cards to take out of some other archetypes.
And for your deck is also a 1-drop. You like
1-drops are good, nice and mana efficient.
Yeah, they still have not printed a good 1-mana Merfolk. They will print all the
CrusherBot knows.
They will print all the absurd stuff like Scourge of the Skyclaves that will fit into almost every black aggro deck that will homogenize the format. They will not, however, print some powerful 1-drop to help out some tribe or something.
That's right.
Like,
Fairies
I'm
and
not
merfolk,
sure.
we need some help here.
Like, but they will print a 2-mana 10/10, right?
That's right, exactly. So anyway, Pithing Needle actually interacts very well with the format right now.
Pithing Needle is also good with our synergy because it's an artifact.
Mm-hmm.
It helps with the metal craft. It helps. It fits in very, very well with this in this deck, and you can protect it again with Welding Jar if you need to.
Mm-hmm.
I have done that with those hyper fast like Devoted Devastation. It's also good against goblins. It's good against the needle. It's good against goblins. Against devastation. Like I board out some things and I bring these artifact hate pieces and some ways to protect my artifacts because with green they will have ways to destroy them mostly.
Okay, Damping Sphere.
Damping Sphere, one of the best sideboard options, if you ask me. I mean, at any point in time, it hits a lot of things. Like, we are not seeing any storm, but it hits Amulet, Pawn. I think it's a good card. It does not hamper us very much because we are.
It's interesting you say that, but I guess you like empty your hand early on in the game, and then after you play Damping Sphere, you just play one thing a turn.
Well, you can even play more things because they're just so cheap and
right. Okay.
You can
pay one.
Guard as aid. You can play your equipments on your opponent's turns. Also.
Oh yeah, that's true. Okay, so you can play on your opponent's turn, and yeah, it's only per turn that you would have to pay this tax. So if you can play something for basically with no Damping Sphere tax on your turn, wait till your opponent's turn, and also play something with no Damping Sphere tax.
Yeah.
Okay, Disenchant.
Disenchant, main reason, only one reason is Disenchant. It is Chalice of the Void. That's the name of
it. Need some answer to Chalice of the Void. Disenchant, still been good since Alpha. Still seeing play.
Yeah.
That's it? You don't bring this in against anything else?
Against Ad Nauseam, I board out the pets and I bring this. I bring also the Damping Sphere because they just can't beat really well at Damping Sphere.
And Damping Sphere does slow them down a little bit, doesn't it? It does slow them down. I've had a lot of wins on camera with Damping Sphere against Ad Nauseam.
You played Damping Sphere, right?
Not right now, but I have played Damping Sphere many times. I got it in my toolbox if I need to reach for it.
Oh yeah, it's good. I also bring it against Eldrazi Throne or regular Throne because they might have Ensnaring Bridge. Which
right.
Sucks, but you can play Ensnaring Bridge around Ensnaring Bridge with your Topters because they can attack. Through it, and you can actually at instant speed play like a Hammer with Cigar as aid or attach a plating to it.
Yeah.
You can do it every turn, but
it's nice to have a built-in way to beat the bridge.
Yeah, very annoying card. And this
that's a very important ability though. Like you just said that is some way of giving the hammer evasion. Is you attack with your Ornithopter first. It has flying after blocks, then attach the hammer. And your Ornithopter got through.
Yep. One of the main things, like Sodek, I watched him on the one of the modern challenges in top 4. He was actually shocked by the deck. He had not seen it before and he lost to it.
I'd be shocked too. Like, what kind of pile did I just lose to here? Well, when you see such a deck and you like never heard of it prior, maybe you see it in the Swiss, but you don't expect to see it in the top 4,
But yeah, in the last weekend, like in the top 32 of the modern challenges, like Hammer time lists were more prevalent than Uro. Like there was 6 in total in the 2 challenges. Like on Saturday, there were in the top 16, there were 3 lists I was one of them, of course, at the 12th position. I was 5-1. I lost to a dream matchup, Harden's Chaos. I would never, if I had to choose for a Grand Prix final or something, I would choose to play against that, but it did not turn out very well, and I finished with a 5-2 record.
Kalengis, thank you very much for the 6 months in a row. If you appreciate the show, this is how you can support the channel. Okay, so Lau, let's get into something a lot of people are always curious about. What are the good and bad matchups for this archetype? Let's start with the good ones. What do you think are good matchups? What do you want to see?
Well, there are a lot of good matchups. Like I actually will walk you. I'm tracking my results. Actually,
okay.
I will kind of walk you
through a man of science.
My results a little bit.
And statistics.
Yeah, so people can gain a general picture. Like, it all depends on the skill level of the player. Honestly, most of the times, like is it prowess and mono red prowess are kind of, for example, the good matchups. Like with the non-Lurus version.
Really?
It was.
They got like a lot of little spot removal.
Yeah, what this, like you tap out for your Stormwing entity, right?
Oh, okay, I see. So what it is so it's possible, however, that they're not playing very well against your archetype. They don't understand that they can't tap out. So like, let's say they don't tap out. Do you think the matchup is harder?
No, it gets a little trickier, but it's all about waiting for the right moment, because
I could totally understand your deck would stomp them. I mean, if they willingly tap out, because there are those moments.
We are more efficient in terms of mana. We can.
True, 0 mana does beat 1 mana.
Absolutely. I can play a pure steel, force them equip something, like if they don't run black, they cannot beat a 10-10, 11-11 creature with their
burn spell. Okay, so if you get the 10-10 early, basically all the lava darts in the world aren't going to do anything.
Yeah, or whenever. Then the next step is Shadow Spear, and you gain 11 life.
There we go. Yeah. Try racing this.
Like with the non-Lurus version, with the swords and the bear skull, like in 10 matches against TZ Prowess, I was 100% against them.
Okay.
And Saffron Olive, when he took my deck, and it was an abomination. I mean, he almost lost to TZ Prowess, like he played his cards totally wrong. It was unbelievable. But any tribal deck would be a good matchup, because if they're not very interactive in the early turns, like this deck,
steamroll them.
Yeah, if in the first 3 turns you don't do anything, even if you play your Aether Vial on turn 1, you might be dead in 2 turns.
Yep.
Like the any tribal deck is a perfect matchup. Like, here's another example. Like, people would think, for example, Junt is obviously a horrible matchup. With the non-Lurus version, I had like 20-something% win rate. But with Lurus, like all these grindier, more interactive matchups, like kind of are turned on their head by Lurus. Like against John with the Lurus version, I won the first 5 matches. I absolutely crushed them. Like,
Lurus gives you the extra threat density in order to basically exhaust their removal.
It just happened like that. I won the first 5 matches against Junt. Now I've lost the next 4, but they were close ones. And I can say something very important to everyone. It is very important, the mood while you are playing. I mean, if you have confidence while you are playing, if you feel well, you're going to make the right decisions in the game. Once you get a little rattled and you lose that kind of your cool, if you lose it, things may start going a little bit downhill. Like, a lot of times I've started with very good results in challenges, like 4-1, and then I would have for example, the win served on a plate against me, and I would just do something very stupid. That's a good result, yeah. I'm a perfectionist. Like, if something is not right, I just I can't stand it. Even a 60-70% win rate, I will not be very satisfied with that. If I have a bad matchup, there are bad cards against me, if I have no answer, I will not, cannot accept that or tolerate that in any way. So against John, for example, I won the first 5 matches. I lost the next 4, but all those matches were kind of close. Like the last 3, some of them were my mistakes. Of course, one of the worst matchups. Like, is it prowess 60% currently? Like against Storm and Tron, it is like Tron doesn't do a lot. Like until turn 3, or afterwards, they don't do a lot. You can kill them if you're on the play until then. Even if they play turn 3 Karn liberated, like they can take out something. So what? I mean, most of the times it's not a big deal.
So Tron is a good matchup.
I wouldn't say so. Like the sideboard cards, like push it. When I played in a Modern Last Chance event, I was like 4-0, and I played in the 5th match against Tron. I had won with the non-Lures version. I had won like 7 out of 7 against Tron, and I lost in a decider. Like, it was pretty rough.
It's funny, Tron, it doesn't matter what they're up against. It seems like they always have game against everything. 7 mana turn 3 is not to be underestimated.
No, they're still up there. I see them recently here and there in the met. I mean, they are there even now. Eldrazi Tron, though, in the last 100 matches, for example, I've played it only twice. I would say there it's 50-50 because they do have very good cards against us, but other than that, they're not doing a lot. But they do have some Karn the Great Creator and Chalice of the Void, mainly.
Okay, Urodex. What's your matchup against Urodex?
My matchup against Urodex, 4-color control, in 13 matches, I have like 7 wins and 6 losses, I think.
Okay, so it's pretty close.
1%. Yeah, I was at 1.773, but I lost the last 3 ones, I think. It is kind of close, but I mean, like, even if I have a positive balance, like that's by itself, it's absurd. I mean, that deck has a matchup against everything almost. It is probably the best deck right now. I mean, not probably.
How about against Heliod Company?
Against Heliod Company, right now I'm 50-50. Like 3 wins and 3 losses with the Lures version. Heliod Company is a new deck. I mean, you have the game to beat it. They're quite consistent. If you have Pitting Needle to name the Ballista, they can go infinite life. Your only way would be the Inkmart Nexus at that point, but you can just be faster than them if they don't have a Path or a Skyclave apparition. It's pretty close, but I would be happy to see I would be happy to see a Heliod Company against me. I know for you that wouldn't be the case.
I'm not happy about seeing Heliod Company. I don't like that. I'm on the modern metagame right now, and Heliod Company keeps moving up. It's like number 3 on MTG Goldfish. Okay, how about the Death Shadow decks? They've got a ton of removal.
Yep, they do. But I mean, I still have against John Death Shadow. I'm like 5-2 right now. Okay. As weird as it may sound, because they have become a little bit less interactive as with more creatures they play, and which means that they can tap out more often. Like, if they do that, they risk a lot. They have to have an answer for my main things, but it is certainly a tough matchup. Like, it is very annoying to play against. Sometimes you can feel powerless, of course, but people don't actually play very well against them. Like, they don't have a vision. about how this deck should function. Like for example, in the challenge on Sunday, I was 2-1. I played against Ragdos Shadow, and I kept the second game. The first game I beat them with plating. I think plating in Inkmart. In the second game, like I kept a hand with 2 Thopters and a Mishra's Bauble and lands. Like most people would disregard this hand on the spot, will mulligan it, right? It looks like it doesn't have anything. But you play your stuff on turn 1, like that was the deciding game. You play out your stuff on turn 1, then they deplete their removal spell. Then you redraw with the Bauble, play Paladin, they killed it. Next turn, I put a Lurus in my hand. In that time, I've drawn a Mantle and a Hammer. I have all the lands, of course, because I'm not depleted on resources. Then I play Lurus. I stick a Mantle to something. I play Lurus. They were stuck on 2 lands as well, but whatever. I mean, I was 5 cards ahead of them. 5 cards ahead of them at the end. Like, I had a 13-12 Lurus, which they could not kill. I mean, the matchup is tough, but I have a positive balance against it.
Every one of those like attrition-based matchups are tough.
Yeah, like
it's a grind. How about when you're racing another deck that's just gold fishing, like Oops All Spells?
Well, Oops All Spells. I mean, it's about who will get it depends if they'll have a Simeon Spirit Guide or something most of the time. It's like 50-50 so far. I think I have 6.
As it is, goldfish versus goldfish. So it also depends who wins the die roll.
Oh.
I know it's not me. I never win the die roll against Oops All Spells. You can look at all my matches against Oops All Spells. I've lost the die roll against them every time.
Well, God, he wants to tell you something, right? I don't know what that is, but
okay, so basically it's 50-50.
I would say so, but I would not be. I mean, when I have a clear game plan against something, I'm not very, very scared. Like, you would board in the Pitting Needle, the Tormod scripts, and you just hope for the best. Like, they're a bit faster. But if you can gain a bunch of life,
with Shadow Spear, you could actually get out of range of them killing you because they only deal so much damage.
Exactly.
You can even use some chump blockers against the Vengevines.
Yeah, you can keep yourself alive somehow and turn it around, even if they go off. Like,
good morning, Willie Hall. You're getting asked, are you Polish or Russian?
You have to guess again, my friend.
What's the answer?
I'm from Bulgaria, and it's actually already dark here. It's 5 o'clock in the afternoon.
It gets dark early in Europe. I remember when I was living there. Okay, so here's a maybe this question is going to be obvious. Good hate cards against this deck. Chalice, Stony Silence, Kitaki.
This person knows what he's talking about. Kataki, I'm not sure. War's Wage, like, taxes you for every artifact each turn, which is a nightmare.
Yeah.
It's a literal nightmare, but nobody is running that at this moment, but they used to run it. And these are the worst cards against us. Karn the Great Creator is the worst card, actually.
Karn the Great Card is probably the single worst card in the metagame right now because it's like the only artifact hate.
Asymmetrical. Well, you turn off your opponent's stuff and you turn your Chromatic Star into a chump blocker, and
yes,
you can unattach my equipment by making it into a creature. Like, all the text on that card is just obnoxious. I hate that card so much. Honestly, like, this 10 lines of text in Engineered Explosives is good. Yeah, like, I have lost to Engineered Explosives sometimes. Colligan's Command is pretty bad against
this
us.
card is getting more popular recently, but I didn't see Engineered Explosives for a very long time. But it's coming back in this like twinless twin deck, the Kiki X Arc deck. Where is it else coming in? But like it was, I didn't see too much engineered explosives for a very long time. I would know because they love siding that thing in against me. Oh, it sort of fell away when Urza got not Urza got banned, but like Mox Opal and Astrolabe got banned.
Well, with when Lures of the Dream then was printed and everybody was playing, a lot of decks were playing with Lures, they used engineered explosives to recast it every turn. Like that's pretty horrible. It is a Titan runs it. Amulet Titan runs it.
Yeah, Amulet Titan still runs it.
Yeah, they can fetch it with Tularia West. Just a second, please.
We'll give you 2. We'll give you... Take all the seconds you need.
Sorry. Tularia West can fetch it. Like, there are some... I don't remember it right now. It is a good card for sure. Ratchet Bomb is good against us, of course. Like, M. Hayashi, the leader on the leaderboard. Like, he's running... I'm not sure if he's running Ratchet Bombs now. He used to run like 4 and plus Blast Zone, which also can stop us.
All the cards to beat Auriok Champion and Core Firewalkers, also dealing splash damage to the Hammer Time deck. But would you say like the Hammer Time deck is doing pretty well right now? Because a lot of these cards, these hate cards we mentioned, aren't really very popular.
They are not. They were not popular for some months.
No Oof, no Stony Silence, no Kata. Like I haven't seen Kataki in like 5 years. You know?
Well, I think it is good now because people have failed to evaluate its true power level. Like I have been more trash talked in the chats, like in the last year, a lot of times. Like a meme deck. I can't believe I have lost to someone who is going to go 2 and 3. Like this is clean. This is pure garbage. Like enjoy your jank and stuff. There are a lot of like the MTGO community is like on the 2 extremes, I guess. Or
well, I mean, I'm going to be fair to them. Like there's like tons of brews being thrown out there, and this one it looks like a pile. Like, I mean, if you give me this 75, I mean, like, I'm going to be honest. It looks like a pile. It doesn't look like it actually works together. But, I mean, it's proven itself. And now it can be part of that category like Amulet Titan, which also looks like a pile. It looks like that deck looks like a total pile. But now it proved itself over years that, you know, it was a serious contender. And now this deck can now has now proven itself to be a serious contender in the metagame.
It is on the top page right now in MTG Goldfish. It still doesn't have a name like W.
Oh, we get that as well. Like they call the Merfolk decks blue or U or UG.
UG, yeah.
Yeah, people hate losing to mono white as well.
People hate losing in general. People hate losing in general, but you have to deal with it. Like if I lose, I will give credit to my opponent as hard as it is. I hate losing, really. I hate losing probably more than I love winning. That's it. It's your fault. It's not your opponent's fault.
How effective is Pithing Needle against this deck?
Slightly.
Maybe specifically your build. You know, the other builds that I played against had core both Spellskite and Giver of Runes, so they were more vulnerable to Pithing Needle. But let's say your build that you've crafted.
Well, it stops few things. Like your Colossus Hammer, you can still attach it with Cigar's Aid. You still have Cranial Plating. Like they can name also Inkmart Nexus. They can, if they name multiple things, it might become a problem if they have more copies, but it doesn't really hit us that hard. Just like Plague Engineer, they used to run Plague Engineers against me, like naming Construct, killing some Mem Knights or Inkmot Nexus. So I mean that's kind of good, but not really.
You have other ways of getting through damage.
Yeah.
When you deal with one threat, you got the other one.
Like I hate playing a plague engineer against me when I'm with the tribal decks. Like when I play elementals, allies, humans, or whatever. Like it's one of the worst car ever designed. I have no idea. Someone
Is
needs.
Laplacian on Hammer Time, Cactus of
Yeah,
Ishma?
yeah. Actually, he went like 4-1 in one of the preliminaries I
Oh,
saw.
he jumped on this deck. He seems to be searching for a deck. He's abandoned his old Lurrus deck. Now he's found a new Lurrus deck.
I can't believe that I'm influencing some good players. It's kind of interesting. Like there are
Yeah,
a lot
like,
of good
hey, if
players.
something wins the modern challenge, there's got to be something to it. So now, like the real the real like pros of online, you've gotten their attention, and now they're gonna test it themselves.
Yep.
All right, well, that was fantastic. Thank you very much, CrusherBot, for showing up today and
Yeah.
giving us some insight into this archetype. And if anyone wants to learn more about it, where can they find you?
I actually made a Discord group right before like that guy won the March Challenge on Twitter. They can find me on Twitter. I have become a little bit more active there.
We
And
have, hold on, I'll get a.
I think
There you go. You
my
can find him on Twitter at
yeah,
Stefan Dimov 413.
I think I might close the Discord soon because
That's okay. You
need.
can give me a link to the latest Discord on Twitter. I'll have it in the description below on YouTube for anyone that wants to follow
Okay.
the Hammer Time Discord. And if you said you're setting up a Twitch, so people
Yeah,
can
I
watch this
think
thing in
it
real
would be
time.
good. Yeah, I think it would be good for me. And like I play sometimes even on autopilot. I mean, the things that people are taking forever to do, like I do them
Yeah.
automatically. I mean, I would
Or at
do
least
that. It
people
would
can
be good
see the
for
deck
me.
really work in the hands of the master.
It would be
Master
good
Hammer
for
Time
me.
player. So when you get that set up, let me know. I'll have that also in the
Yeah.
description below. Hopefully that'll be ready for everyone that wants to watch you play. But until then, catch him on Twitter, Stefan
Thank you.
Dimov 413.
Thank you very much.
Anything else to say about this deck before we go?
Not really, not really. I mean, I personally love it. It was under the radar for a lot of time. I knew it was powerful all the time. Like I
Hmm.
was winning. I haven't paid for a ticket in Magic Online for like a year. Like I keep winning, so I don't think so far anything needs to change so much. Hopefully I'll get big results soon. Maybe tomorrow even.
Maybe tomorrow even.
Yeah, I
Who
need to
knows?
get few qualifier points until tomorrow.
Also, me too. I need to grind some qualifier points as
we
well.
may
Maybe I'll do it
we
in a
may face
preliminary.
each other.
Exactly.
Maybe face each other in some league. Like I got few to get, but if that's
The
all,
best hammer player should be called a McHammer.
McHammer, Stephen McHammer.
Anyway, thank you very much for showing up.
Thank you.
And yeah, if you thought this was useful, don't forget to give a
Hopefully.
like, show your appreciation for the Masters. And this has been Nikachu with CrusherBot talking about Hammer Time and Modern. See you
All
next
right.
time.